Welcome everyone, wonderful to be with you today. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. There we go, recording, yes. I was going to ask you if it was recording. So, okay, share. Share. July 6th, here we are. And our first topic, for those in Singapore, you've seen it once. So you know all the answers. So this is a 2 questions from an event we held in Singapore for new people. We called it an open house. And questions were submitted ahead of time, 9 questions, which is a really good system because then I speak about what people want to learn about. So this is just 2 questions, 2 of the longer answers. Question 8. My job is very stressful. What tools are there in Hinduism that I can use to manage stress? Okay, coming twice here. What practices from Gurudeva's teachings would you suggest? So, starting off with the questions for you. What does Gurudeva suggest for chronic stress? Not temporary stress, but chronic stress. And we're going to distinguish between the two in a minute. This is Managing Chronic Stress, April 2018. This publisher's desk is based upon talking to a few Hindus who were seriously stressed out by their busy lives. The article makes a few simple suggestions drawing on Gurudeva's teachings for reducing stress. On a regular basis, I meet Hindus who, like most of the world, are emotionally distraught and mentally agitated due to the constant stress of their daily activities. This seems to be especially common when both husband and wife are pursuing demanding careers under employers who expect them to perform at exceptional levels for long hours. It's not uncommon to learn that they are also raising 2 or more children. The daily demands of work and family are more than realistically fit into a 24-hour day. Some instances, after many years of constantly having too much to do on a daily basis, serious stress results. Some types of stress are self-correcting. We are laid off from our job and after being in that situation a few months, experience the stress of no monthly income. However, when we find a new job, the stress automatically goes away. A hurricane destroys our home. It's a Hawaii example. Also Mauritius, it was called a cyclone there. Stress is immediate and significant, but once we have built a new home, it again resolves itself. The incessant demands of daily activities creates a kind of stress that is different, one that no event takes away. In fact, it can grow more intense from year to year. Faced with this kind of chronic stress, it is prudent and healthy to find ways to reduce it. So you may not be able to totally get rid of it, but you should be able to reduce it. Gurudeva gave a number of helpful practices for stress management. The first was breath control. He wrote, "The mystic's goal is to control awareness while he is in the conscious mind, the external world, to know where he is in consciousness. When he finds he is aware in the conscious mind and the five senses has become his ruler, he then controls his awareness within the conscious mind itself. He does this in a number of ways. One way is through the control of breath. Breath is life and life is breath. Breath is a controlling factor of awareness. Awareness rides on breath. Breath is also a controlling factor of our willpower. A seeker must develop a dynamic will to walk the path of enlightenment, so that he does not stumble or falter, but continues onward no matter how difficult the path seems to be. When it comes to breathing, the fundamental practice is to be sure you are breathing from your diaphragm and not from your chest. This is a natural way to breathe. It is how babies naturally breathe. However, once we take on life's tensions, the diaphragm tightens and we tend to expand the chest when we breathe. The diaphragm can be felt right below your solar plexus in the area where the ribs separate. To locate it, place your fingertips on the diaphragm and cough. When your fingers are directly on the diaphragm, they will jump as you cough. An easy way to learn diaphragmatic breathing is to lie on the floor and place a book on your tummy. When you inhale while relaxed, the diaphragm will extend itself downward in the abdomen, causing the book to rise. When you exhale, the diaphragm completely relaxes and the book returns to its starting position. In this way, tension is released and stress is reduced. Notice, took the shoes off. That's good. Gurudeva commented on this. You will experience that when the nerve currents are quieted through diaphragmatic breathing. It is impossible to be frustrated, and it is possible to absorb within yourself into the great halls of inner learning, into the great vacuum within yourself, all of your problems, troubles, and fears without having to psychoanalyze them. Once you grasp the basics of diaphragmatic breathing, you can practice it while sitting upright, even in a chair or when walking, whenever you need to relax, such as before and during an important meeting or exam. Just take 1 minute to breathe deeply from the diaphragm. Second practice for reducing chronic stress, the yoga break, also involves breathing. Lie on your back on the floor or any flat surface, any flat, firm surface. With arms at your sides, take a deep breath and command your body and mind to relax, to let go of all thoughts and tensions. Visualize yourself floating on a cloud above all the troubles and turmoils of daily life. With eyes closed, inhale, breathing from the diaphragm, while visualizing a powerful light flooding into your solar plexus that fills your body and mind with energy. Exhaling, feel this light energy moving out from the solar plexus into every part of your body, and visualize it expelling all of your thoughts and tensions. Repeat this for 5 minutes and you will feel less stressful. For as the body relaxes, so does the mind. Gurudeva wrote, freedom from worldly tensions is only achieved to the degree in which people are able to control the forces of their own mind. In this control, they are able to lean upon the power of their own inner security found in the eternity of the moment. In that moment, your inner strength is found. So take your yoga break whenever you feel a little tired physically, a little nervous, a little distraught. That is the time, not when you have time. Third practice in managing stress is taking time each morning for a short spiritual religious practice. Gurudeva called this a daily vigil and gave this comment on it. Devout Hindus perform daily vigil called Sandhya Upasana, usually before dawn. This sacred period of puja, japa, chanting, singing, hatha yoga, meditation, and scriptural study is the foundation of personal life. Holding a daily vigil in the morning helps an individual center himself or herself and deepen a sense of religiousness for facing the coming day. I outlined a simple format for a daily vigil in my January, February, March 2014 Publisher's Desk entitled A 10-Minute Spiritual Workout. It describes an abbreviated daily regimen designed for those who find that today's busy life allows little or no time for introspection. It is now available with various chants and practices as a free mobile app designed by the monks and entitled Spiritual Workout. So that's on both Apple and Google stores. Fourth practice is that of hatha yoga, a yogic system of bodily postures, asanas done in specific sequences and with coordinated breathing. Postures range from simple to difficult. The simple ones are sufficient to practice for reducing chronic stress. Gurudeva, the purpose of hatha yoga today again is the same, to keep the physical body, emotional body, astral body, and mental body harmonious, healthy and happy, so that awareness can soar within to the heights of divine realization. Each asana carefully executed with regulated breathing, the visualization of color, and the hearing of the inner sound slowly unties the knotted vasanas within the subconscious mind and releases awareness from there to mountaintop consciousness. Hatha yoga opens up the consciousness because when the height of the energy, the zenith, is reached in each posture and we change to the next posture, a small or large adjustment occurs within the physical and astral nerve system. Gurudeva also spoke of a totally different approach to stress management, suggesting that we change our relationship with stress, turn its inevitability to our advantage. He counseled, people are confused about stress these days. There is a solution. That is a change in consciousness, changing the way we are programmed. This means accepting stress not as a no-no, but as a yes-yes. In the old days, yoga wasn't just an Indian anti-stress pill. It made the mind and nerve system more intense, not less so. Stress is a natural reaction to intensity. Stress is our teacher, helping us to withstand intensity. Look into the mirror and mentally say to yourself, stress is making me strong. It really does. Try to believe it. Begin to enjoy stress and the strength that it is giving you. Where would our world leaders, our religious leaders and parliamentarians be if they couldn't handle stress? Gurudeva gives us our fifth practice. But you have to handle stress. How do you handle it? Like anything else, you go to God on the inside. You go to God in the temple, and finally you get rid of your stress from the inside out, and you are a better person because of it. Because you have had to expand your nerve system. You've had to stretch your nerve system. You have had to use brain cells that you never used before to stretch out your mind, awaken new capacities. It is not easy. To conclude, this Publisher's Desk gives 4 methods that are effective in reducing stress produced from our daily activities. Of course, many more techniques exist. However, the practice on a regular basis or one or more of these 4 is a good start and will definitely be helpful. Then we get our 9th question. I am told that all religions teach us to be good. Is striving to be a good person good enough, or does Hinduism have a different approach? And how would you answer that question? Is striving to be good enough in Hinduism? A Sanskrit term that describes the earning of punya, merit, is ishtapurtam. Swami Harshananda, in his A Concise Encyclopedia of Hinduism, gives this explanation. The term refers to the cumulative spiritual result or merit due to a man's performance of ritual worship and charitable acts. Ishta includes all types of ritual worship, including the gifts given during its performance. Purta indicates the various acts of charity and public utility, such as building and dedicating of deep wells for the good of the public, building temples and gardens, free distribution of food, giving gifts, nursing the sick, and many other acts of charity sanctioned by the holy books. Popular concept in Hinduism and other religions too is that if we live virtuously, earning abundant punya, then after our transition from life on earth, we will permanently reside in the heaven worlds. The Mundaka Upanishad decrees this concept to be false. While the punya earned by Ishta and Purta does grant access to the heaven worlds, eventually that punya is used up and the soul is reborn once again. Verse 1-10 explains, these deluded men regarding sacrifices and works of merits, Ishtapurtam, as most important do not know any other good. Having enjoyed in the high place of heaven won by good deeds, they enter again this world or still a lower one. To see why Hinduism's approach is different, it is helpful to understand the concept of the Purusharthas. So that's always a good way to explain the Hindu view, is to list what the 4 Purusharthas are. So it probably doesn't define it there, but it's good to define it. Purusha plus Artha. So Purusha is the soul. Artha, we think of it usually as meaning wealth, but in this context it means a goal. So the goals of the soul, which are 4. They are Dharma, virtue, Artha, wealth, Kama, love, Moksha, liberation, also called Chaturvarga, 4-fold good. They form a cornerstone of Hindu ethics. These aspirations are found in the Sankalpa, statement of intention that priests chant when doing an archana for someone in a temple. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Chaturvida, Palapurushartha, Sindhyartam. Maybe you remember that, hearing that. Meaning, may you attain the fulfillment of life's 4 goals: Dharma, wealth, enjoyment, and liberation. If you ask anyone what they desire from life, except monks of course, their answer will certainly include that they want to fall in love, get married, have children, and live a happy family life. They want to learn a profession so that they can earn a good living and provide for their family a home and all the possessions that are needed. This, of course, is the essence of the idea of wealth and love, Artha and Kama. The next goal of life, virtue, or Dharma in Sanskrit, refers to how we pursue wealth and love. If we acquire our wealth honestly, and if we are loyal to our spouse, we are pursuing them in a virtuous or dharmic way. We may take for granted that this will be the case, however, it is not. Such a computer services scandal many years ago in India shows that businessmen can get off track and in their enthusiasm to make a profit may do so in dishonest and fraudulent ways. And unfortunately, today, even in the Hindu community, some marriages end in divorce, oftentimes because one spouse is having an extramarital affair or affairs. The problem of being dharmic applies not only to adults, but also to youth. When we are young, we are easily influenced by peer pressure and can eventually end up getting off track and as part of a group engage in vandalism or illegal drugs. So far, our description of the Purusharthas of Dharma, Artha, and Kama relates to all religions. Religious people pursue wealth and love within the constraints of Dharma. It's a nice way of defining religion. Religion is the pursuit of wealth and love within the constraints of Dharma. It is the fourth Purushartha that distinguishes Hinduism from Western religions. Hindu concept of moksha is that we are continuing to reincarnate many times on earth, punarjanma, till we experience God deeply enough that we are liberated from the cycle of rebirth, samsara. Therefore, what distinguishes Hinduism from other religions is the need to have such an experience of God, which is called enlightenment, God realization, and self-realization, all meaning the same thing. So you've heard this one before. I have found a surefire way to put an audience to sleep within 5 minutes. Can you guess how? Remember what it is? Guaranteed. It's to talk at length about moksha. Why is this? It is because moksha seems so far off, something to be concerned about in a future life, something that is for monks to think about. This is because everyone feels that the challenges they are facing in day-to-day living are sufficient focus, and thus there is no need to also think about moksha. This, of course, is a good point. Therefore, the challenge to be overcome in talking about moksha is to make it relevant to our day-to-day life, take away the futuristic sense. The way I do this is to refer to moksha as the X marks the spot destination, and then spend the rest of the presentation on moksha, describing the journey that leads to moksha. I ask listeners to visualize a mountain with a winding path leading to the summit, which is the blissful experience of God realization and moksha. In each life we are born near the same point on the path we reached at the end of our last life. The goal in each life is to move forward, not to stand still, and definitely not to slide backwards. So, what causes us to move forward, stand still, or slide backwards? That's the question to you. It's not in this presentation, because it was for new people. I thought it was too advanced. So what causes us to move forward, stand still, or move backwards? We progress on the path through performing spiritual practices called sadhana. We stand still by living a selfish life and neglecting spiritual practices, which isn't bad, but we're not making spiritual progress. We regress by serious adharmic activities such as living a life of theft, depravity, or cruelty. And to describe how we can move forward toward moksha, I use the analogy of dance. Yes, the audience, what is most needed for a youth to become good at Hindu classical dance? And it's the question I get the most response to. Everyone feels confident in knowing the answer, and they say practice. Reading books about dance won't make you a good dancer, nor will attending classes without practicing what you have learned. Regular practice is needed to make the body limber and master the many movements, positions, gestures, and expressions. The spiritual journey that leads to moksha is the same, to grow and evolve into our divine potential, to manifest our inner perfection in our outer intellectual and instinctive nature requires regular practice, ideally daily practice. The spiritual advancement we make is directly related to the time and effort we devote to religious practices. So that's something that's not that widely understood in Hinduism. The spiritual advancement we make is directly related to the time and effort we devote to religious practices. the conquered Murugan temple asked me for a saying. They had sayings for all the gurus for the souvenir they were producing for the Kumbhabhishekam, so I had to come up with a saying. I think my saying is, consistent practice produces spiritual progress. Consistent practice produces spiritual progress, just like in dance. So that's what we want, consistent practice. What and when to practice is a complete subject in itself, and we will not attempt to cover that in this presentation. So, 64 character qualities, if I haven't lost my place. We are on sharing. 64 character quality. How would you define sharing? Good quality to teach children. The workbook gives this definition. Sharing means giving to others a portion of what one has or receives. I cultivate it by not keeping everything for myself, but including others in the enjoyment of my gifts and possessions. The opposite is hoarding. And Gurudeva, charity is selfless concern and caring for our fellow man. It is generous giving without thought of reward, always sharing and never hoarding. We cultivate charity through giving to the hungry, the sick, the homeless, the elderly, and the unfortunate. What is help anyway, but man sharing with man? Who is the helper and who is the one who is helped? Mystical way of looking at it. Reflection. Take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in sharing. And our third topic. Yogaswami. Keep the antakaranas free from sickness and be careful, be awake, be alert, be vigilant, and become omnipresent. Antakaranas are the mental faculties. So, buddhi tattva, intellect, ahamkara, I-ness, and manas, instinctive mind. So those three are what Yogaswami is referring to. Basically, keep the mind free from sickness and be careful, be awake, be alert, be vigilant, and become omnipresent. What does that mean to you? What struck me is Yogaswami's casual reference to omnipresence shows how he looked at it as a natural state for a seeker to attain. Next quote. If the mind remains pure, that is equal to all yoga asanas. What does that mean to you? My thought is it stresses the importance of purity. Simple idea. Atma darshan will arise when there is a yearning desire to know the self, and when attachment to the possessions of others entirely disappears. You must press hard within yourself. If you do that, you will have the desire for scripture knowledge. You must squeeze the sugar cane to extract the juice. What does that mean to you? Yogaswami is stressing that experiencing the Atma Darshana, requires a great deal of effort. Like squeezing sugarcane with a manual machine. Maybe you've seen that done in India. Got to press hard. Oh, thank you very much. Oh.